Hey, you. It's Sunday, early February 2019. Some people say there's a great awakening occurring, and in some circles it feels like that. In other circles, however, things are becoming the division, the divisiveness, the separation, it's becoming ever more prevalent. I stopped like flat smacking people, um, sort of just on the fly, like say you're in a park somewhere and you encounter someone and you quite quickly tell them that the earth is flat. And I did that for a while, maybe a year, and I just got tired of losing any kind of, then you won't have any more conversation to have with those people. There are definitely times and places to flat smack. I don't even like the term, and but there are times when it is justified. And say like when I was arrested by the police last year over that growing a few plants business, I told them that the earth was flat. Yesterday, I was walking Alexander, as we do each day, and each day we take sometimes a different route, but there's a road just parallel to mine below me. And we walk on that road every second day, every third day at least. Um, Sometimes when we walk on that road, he he likes to walk on the gravel of somebody's driveway up onto a brick, one brick up onto a level of AstroTurf, and then another brick up onto the neighbor's driveway. And for some reason, he's drawn to this driveway. He walks when we're out walking now. He walks on people's walls. But like the little low brick, one brick wall, two brick walls that people have got in the UK, around here. If you don't know the kind of setup in the UK, a lot of people live in these sort of terrace streets where terrace terraced, not terrorist, terraced streets where the house is only about as wide as a car and a half. They're not very wide, and the front gardens are typically quite small. And around where I live, a lot of people have converted their little front garden to parking spaces because there's limited parking on the streets nowadays. And in this case, they've done that. They've adjusted. They've gotten rid of any sort of plant, living material, and they've put some stones down and some AstroTurf. They've got enough space to park 2 or 3 cars and a little bit of AstroTurf, which is about another half of that size again. So the front yard is only like 10 paces wide, 20, 15 paces wide. And Alexander has, on occasion, walked on that AstroTurf. So yesterday he's walking on the AstroTurf, and this car pulls up next to the house, and this lady hops out with quite a purposeful look about her. And I think, I wonder if she's like a model scout or something. She's seen Alexander and says, "Whoa, what a beautiful kid. We should make him a model." That reminds me of a time about 9 months ago, maybe a year ago, where a woman jumped out of the car and said, "Are you the father?" Basically intimated that I might have stolen the child. I said, "Woman, look at you've lost your senses. I mean, look at this child. He's as happy as can be. Anyway, so on this occasion, the lady jumps out of her car and she's in the passenger seat. And then I realize it might be the owners of the house. And she says, "Can I ask you to stop letting your child, walk on my property?" I said, "Oh, why is that a problem?" She said, "Yes, well, I have two problems. The foxes are pooing on my AstroTurf, and your son is walking on my garden. Those are the two problems that I have. And I said to say, gosh, wow, that's the stuff that troubles you. You know, what is he doing? What is he doing that's wrong? And she said, he's trespassing. He's just woken up, actually. He was sleeping. He was meant to be asleep for another 45 minutes. So I thought I had a bit of time to chat. And the long and short of it is, I need to go and check on him. The long and short of it is that I said to her, I was flummoxed. I was really flummoxed. She's 6 months pregnant, this lady. She's going to have her own little baby soon. And yeah, they said trespassing, and your son is trespassing. And I'm like, wow, this is the world you live in. Like, a little baby's, you know, he's not walking through any flower beds or damaging anything. Impossible to damage anything other than hurt himself by falling on some of the brickwork or whatever. Man. So I told him the earth is flat. I said, do you know that the earth is flat? Do you know that you are a divine being of the Creator? Why Creator? I don't have time for a philosophy discussion. Please get your son off my property. At which time the husband came over and said, this is incredible, as I've just told your wife. The earth is flat. The government is lying to you about everything. Do not vaccinate that baby. But you are very little people. Very little people. And by that point, Alexander had walked off their property, and I walked away. And this is what I mean about the awakening. I mean, you know, what the system has done, the programming has done to us, is to create this inward, narrow-minded, little Britain mindset. And it's only not only Little Britain, I mean that of any nation. It's not, you know, I see it, and, you know, I've got roots into South Africa and connections all over the world. And I know that there is that same ideology of us versus them, batten the hatches down. And I put in the title Middle Class White for the very reason that, you know, when people talk about racism, they don't realize that it doesn't take much for people to be brought to a form or a mental form of separatism for people who look very much the same. And these people look very much like I look, you know, white, middle class. That's the kind of title that people around here would probably assume if they were white. But you know, so, you know, we do this to each other regardless of color. You know, and ironically, Andrea had said to me just the day before, as we were driving down that very road, she said, you know, you come back here in 10 years' time, and you will find that most of these houses have got fences, you know, that you can't walk on. Most of the houses at the moment have got low walls that are knee high, waist high. That's about it. No one's got a shoulder high. Almost no one's got a shoulder high kind of fence situation. Some people got hedges, but the fencing, the walls are going up, and this is the younger generation moving into this area. So, my friends, if there's an awakening occurring, and it feels like that from certain perspectives, I don't think we should expect it to occur for the majority anytime soon, because they've been, and their children are being prepared for ever more apartheid of the mind and the soul, the separation from our true nature. nurture, earth, heart, ether, the the center, the love paradigm thing that we're meant to be finding. And this woman, I could be and was offended, or not offended, but annoyed, irritated by someone being so small as to conflate foxes shitting on her garden with my little boy's bare feet or his socks passing over the astroturf and stones that make up her front yard. What littleness of mind is it that brings that? So I could be upset by that, but really, I have to be in a standing of whence that comes and the nature of that and how that is in my world in other ways, in your world in other ways, in so many millions of other ways, in the way that our teachers are, the way that our bankers are, the way that our governors, the politicians are. These people are not going about their work. The scientists are not going about their work knowing that their products are poisoning people. They're not, if they are, they're not doing it kind of like, they've found some way of justifying it in the same way as we justified apartheid, or you justify your country's involvement in a particular conflagration. No, we are this, I worked in local government always with a good heart, but going along with things. And, I don't claim to have had high level insights, but I saw enough in my 15 years or whatever in that arena to know that people are given a sense of, hey, we know what this nation needs, we know what these people need, and our intellect and our whatever, with that we can make the right decisions in the best interests of so on and so on and so on and so on. But they do so with the dialectic of, oh, there's a shortage of money. They really believe that. They do that with the dialectic of, oh, there's a shortage of land for building decent homes, or allowing people to encourage people back into the countryside properly, encourage people back to the country rather than taxing them and forcing them to stay in the cities by that means. So they're acting under illusional pretenses that don't serve them or serve us, that are ultimately harmful. What is that mother and that father, what does that mindset do to that child, and then the children that come from that? I don't know. But maybe we all have to reach a particular low point. And once we do so, we start to dig our way back up again. And, I guess we need to be patient and loving for those that are, because I know that people that have maybe seen this before me and longer than me have tread on these paths and walked this way and have looked back over their shoulder, as it were, and with love and compassion, and willing those people to find their time, but in the meantime keeping this center, this balance, this kind of spirit clean, and not clean, we're loving. It all comes back to that. So, Sunday. I said how I connect? I just want to throw something in, because I was going to shut this down now. But I want to throw something in. How I haven't said this possibly out loud. But the sun worship thing has I've always found that curious. You know, over the last few years, I've come to realize that the main religious orders are all into Saturn worship and sun worship, and it's, you know, the Son of God is the sun. And I was like, well, why is that a problem? Why is there an issue with that? Because the sun is such an important portal or an important source of energy for this place. I mean, I don't mean in the ways today if I had the sun as being the source and the Most High and God or whatever term, but that it's a vital light. But we know that we think we know that we are being corralled by a group of an entity that has male-centric, patriarchal kind of, you know, ethos and approach and so on, methodology and so on. And so when you think of the two torus fields that I've been describing, one, the 6, the male, below, like this, and the other, the female, the cup, the 9 above, with the energetic heart, the 3 in the middle, then when you allow in your mind for these two to be overlapped, the lower bridging male, masculine energy, to overlap into the female energy up into a point, and where the male reaches its zenith, its highest point within the female, with up in the 9, as it were, that would be the point at which was the top of the vortex of the lower. It would be the top of the vortex, and therefore, when you're looking at the sun in this context, its model, you're actually looking at the source of the lower energy, or the zenith of the lower energy. Does that make sense? Conversely, when you look at the moon, you're looking at the zenith, or the opposite of the zenith, of the feminine 9 energy, which is spiraling down from above. So in my caduceus, I don't have 2 snakes going up. I have a snake coming down and a snake going up. As above, so below. And the masculine 6 is rising up into the feminine 9, which is descending down upon the 6. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? 1 up, 1 down. Balance. Somewhere in the middle, which is where the heart is. But I'm really just wanting to kind of reinforce this thought that, gosh, so what if when we look at the sun, we're looking at the source of the lower hot energy? Nothing wrong with that, all good. But we should be in balance with the feminine cold energy, the moon. Now, while I have your attention on this point, then I would suggest equally that if it's a vortex that we're looking up into in the moon, you know, when we see the moon, then if you take, like I don't have it with me right now, but if you take a hose pipe, short piece of hose pipe, and you look through it and then bend it like this, like it's a vortex spinning, right? Then you can see how you can create the half moon and the quarter moon and the waxing and waning moon by doing that with that. It also can explain what the Rahu and Ketu are in our universe or in our cosmology, because they are the opposite end of the vortex, right? You have the sort of light end and then the dark end of the vortex. Hopefully that's simple enough for you to see. Hopefully that you got all of that. You know, I will do it in diagrammatic form and stuff like that, but I just think that seeing the masculine energy like that, understanding it in that way, means that we appreciate it, both the positive and the negative aspects of the masculine 6. Equally, we more properly appreciate the negative and the positive aspects of the 9, the feminine, the female energy, the cold energy. Well, I hope you like my analogy of how the moon and the sun might actually be a central energetic point. I should add, if you've not heard me say this before, I am a proponent of the personal atmospheric dome, or there's probably another term for it, but you know, that we each of us move a sort of a dome of visibility around with us, and wherever we happen to be on the plane, north or south of the equator or the equatoris, but where we happen to be will determine how the lights, the energetic effects interact with our dome, our personal dome. Yeah, I can unpack this other thing about the two energies, the hot and the cold, sort of intermeshing and so on, and how that then means our troposphere and exosphere and all these other funny spheres that they've got. If they're right, then there's definitely layers of hot and cold. And this makes absolute sense in an electromagnetic system of hot and cold, on and off, blue and red, switch, 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 the whole way, all the time. Anyway, I can hear like my son needs me, I think. So, is that useful? I hope so. I hope you have a super day. And yeah, it's all about the love, really. And, you know, if you... Flat Earth Fokker used the term globortion. I've heard it before, actually. And he's like flat smacking. It's nasty, but I understand there's a front line, and people are doing what they need to do. And what about Zoom Truth? Has anyone heard from him in a while? Please send Dave my best wishes if you're his friend, if you know him. It's kind of tough out there, and it can feel pretty shitty at times.